Buongiorno and welcome to the My Way of Thinking podcast, or more what for short, hosted by me, Lee Greeno, here live from the Man Cave every week. Hope you're all doing well out there. Things are coming out the other side of lockdown now. The weather is absolutely atrocious, but at least we can go indoors for a meal or a pint. Yay! So you got to take the positives with negatives, people. Positives and negatives. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the weather. This time last year was beautiful. But anyway, now, today I'm speaking to the brilliant Adam Dougherty. Now, Adam, you may have heard of him before, you may not. He did a YouTube video where he's a sculptor, a creative, where he made a very well-known character in America, not so much over here, called Grunkel Stan. And I was fascinated when I watched the video. It went viral on YouTube. Just his dedication, his patience, just his ability. He's just a genius, this guy. I wanted to get him on. He came on. Woo! He's worked on films like Jurassic Park. It's Jurassic Park World. I don't know. I get lost. One of them. Independence Day. Things like that. Massive. But what's interesting in this chat is he talks how just because they're big projects doesn't mean he gets to create what he wants or fulfills him. So ultimately, he doesn't want to do that, even though these are big, fancy budgets. He wants to do what he wants to do. And I thought that was fascinating. Anyway, I had a lovely chat with him, so make sure you keep listening. Remember, if you want to get in touch, we're at What Podcast on Instagram, I'm trying to think that. And if you just put My Way of Thinking podcast on YouTube, or Twitter, or Spotify, iTunes, any of them, we come up. Remember, My Way of Thinking is all about us, amazing human beings that all have a story to tell, and those stories can vary massively. But with the guests I'll be interviewing, you'll always be able to take a little bit of advice or insight into how extraordinary we can all be. Remember, 4 rules: 1, no bullshitting; 2, no judging; 3, no negativity; and 4, have fun. Remember there's previous episodes, which are just fantastic. We had Mental Health Week last week. I'm losing track, but I also did 3 shows back to back with some specialists. I listened back to that. I also talked to Ira Israel. It was fantastic about mindfulness. There was one with Joan Bosiak, who was one of the biggest fraudsters in America. So everything you can think of. If you are interested, I will get you on. I will find you. Now, let's get on with the chat today. This is me speaking to the brilliant Adam. So welcome to My Way of Thinking, and I have a very special guest on today. It is the no other than Adam Dougherty. How are you, Adam? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. How's it going?
Welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. Colorado. Wow. Well, it's funny you say Colorado. I've had lots of different people on from all over the world, but America, but no one from Colorado yet.
There's a lot of people from Colorado. I don't think a lot of people stay in Colorado.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think it's it's the Midwest. A lot of people want to move to LA or New York or more exciting places, but it's kind of getting popular again. A lot of people are moving here.
The grass is always greener, ain't it, Adam?
Yeah, right. I know. I mean, I left here because I was like, Colorado, tired of mountains and trees, and I wanted LA. And then, it's nice for a while, but it's really great to be back.
Yeah,
out of the city.
I've had a couple of people from LA and California, and it's not as good as it's cracked up to be, maybe for a holiday, but to live there, it's quite shocking, some of the state of it in certain areas, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting worse too. Since COVID, it's just been horrendous.
Yeah.
And, this wasn't for me.
It's a shame. But also, of course, you're there and you're paying a premium because tax is through the roof. Obviously, house prices are through the roof. And then you open your door and you've got someone homeless sleeping outside.
That's funny. That was an issue I had for a while there.
Was it?
In front of my door in my stairwell. And then they moved to the back stairwell. And they had like a little tent set up and everything. It was crazy.
Oh, it's
for work for a few days.
It's sad, isn't it? It's sad because it's not. You don't know what their journey is, but you think, well, what are the government doing about this? How are they? Yeah, it's sad. How's your day been? All right.
Good, yeah. Sunday here, Sunday morning.
Sunday
Just waking
morning.
up. Nice
Well,
day to work.
I've been doing some work in the garden today. The weather in the UK, it's been snowing and it's been sunny. I've been digging a hole for posts for a fence, and it's an absolute bloody nightmare because every time you dig in, you hit some big slabs, and I'm absolutely. So I poured myself a nice beer, Budweiser.
Yeah.
See, because you're in America, I thought I'd have a bud.
That works.
Well, look, Adam, it's great to have you on here. We're going to talk a lot more about yourself and growing up and how you got to where you are. But first of all, I wanted to just touch on a few. I always like to touch on a few facts that I've spotted on Google about people's hometowns or where they are at the minute. And there was a few that I spotted about Colorado, because it is one of those places where everybody knows Colorado, but what do they really know? No one's really been there on holiday, maybe. And I've always been interested, because I heard this a while ago about the ghost towns, because apparently it's got the most. Let me read this here. It says Colorado has an extensive history with the gold rush, because obviously it's big. It's well known for that. Yeah. And you could see a lot of the remnants of the towns when the prospectors came up, which has caused a lot of settlements and small towns that have died out now leave around 500 ghost towns in Colorado. Is that something that, have you been out to with some of them, and have you seen a lot of them?
I feel like I've probably been to a few in like middle school or like elementary school for like field trips, but I haven't been to one in a long time. But a lot of it's just a lot of rusty equipment sitting out in a big dirt area next to a cliff, you know.
There's I can't remember what it's called. There's a YouTube guy, and he's bought a ghost town.
I saw that guy.
Yeah, it's crazy, and he's trying to do it up.
Yeah, he just finds bottles and old denim everywhere and stuff. It's great.
Yeah, and it's great, and he's trying to rebuild it all. And I saw one episode where one of the major buildings burnt down, and he was crying, and it was like he's trying to do it all on his own.
He built it up and then it burnt down?
Yeah, he built it up, and then there was a fire, because the problem is, you go to one of these derelict towns, you've got to get electricity in, you've got to get water in. It's not like the olden days, you know what I mean? So. But yeah, it's fascinating. I'll put that in the show notes, actually. So that was one that interests me. This is another one which I didn't realise, which is pretty silly fact. But apparently, the cheeseburger was invented in Colorado. A man by the name of Louis Ballast is said to have invented the cheeseburger in his restaurant called Humpty Dumpty Drive-In.
Humpty Dumpty? Oh, I've never even heard of that.
In 1935. Yeah, he attempted to trademark the term cheeseburger, but it didn't do him too much good. Unfortunately for him, the trend kicked off, and diners across the US started selling their own variations. So there you go. Next time someone asks you for an interesting fact.
Yeah, 39. That's a lot later than I would have thought.
Yeah. Another thing that I spoke about Colorado is the weather, the extreme weather. What's it like? Is it as bad as they make out, where you've got twisters and things like that?
There's no twisters where I'm at. I mean, that's like way out in the fields, and I've never had any issue as far as a twister. We just had this giant snowstorm, though.
Yeah.
We kept building it up. This huge snowstorm's coming. It's coming. And then it was late, and everyone was like, what are you talking about? And then it finally hit, and it was less than 3 feet, I think. But it was still quite a bit. I mean, It was like we had to dig ourselves out. But what's nice in Colorado is it's like a huge snowstorm like that, but then the next day it's 60 degrees out and sunny. Yeah. So it only lasts a few days, and then it melts away pretty quickly and back to normal. So
so you recover, because you see some places where they have heavy snowfall, and they struggle for weeks and weeks to try and combat it.
It's because you got movies like The Shining and Misery, where it's like it's about people getting snowed in Colorado. But I don't think it's that bad.
And then the final one, which I thought I'd bring up, because obviously you're a sculptor and creative, is parts of Colorado's state capitol building in Denver are made up of a material known nowhere else in the world. In 1893, in a town of Beulah, Annabelle, I think it's called, Colorado. An incredibly rare deposit of marble-like stone was discovered. It's rich pink, and it's a fascinating marble, and was promptly snapped up by builders working in the capital. And the entire stone is used in construction of the building, all the way from the base is the stairwells, and it's a small amount of stone that's been kept in reserve to make repairs and things like that. And it's the only place found in Colorado. Bellew it's called Beulah, and it's the only one in the world. Did you know that?
No, I mean, I've been to the Capitol. I've seen the pink marble. I didn't know that was like a special thing. I did just find out, I don't know if it's true or not, someone told me that there's a town called Marble where there was a huge white marble deposit discovered here in Colorado. And actually, that's where the marble came from that was used in the Lincoln Memorial. I never knew that.
Wow. Yeah, wow. So it's one of those places then that there's always things to be found. I suppose because there was a lot of mining there, wasn't there? Mining
and history. I think it's really interesting. I on my drive now from where I live to the shop I'm working at, I pass by the Lakeside Amusement Park, which is this amusement park that's been there forever. You know, we used to go in high school, and it's kind of like the shady, rickety, like wood roller coaster and stuff, right? And it's kind of like garbage food. But actually, I didn't know this, that the Lakeside Amusement Park, like before the roller coaster was added, there's this huge like steeple kind of thing. And this amusement park was actually built in like the mid 1800s, and it's the first amusement park built in the West.
Wow.
So I drive by that every day, and it's all like boarded up, and I mean it's been shut down because of COVID, and it's just like totally fried, and it needs someone to buy it and restore it really badly. But it's a really cool place.
Yeah, it's surprising where we live. We tend to just get on with things and don't really take much notice of the history. But when you do, it's quite fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, I found that out, and I was looking it up, and there's photos of the steeple with like horses and little buggies and people all kind of going to it to like throw balls at bottles and stuff. And it's
cool.
Kind of really neat to think about.
Cool. Now,
people everywhere around it. It's terrible.
Yeah, cool. The old wooden roller coasters. We've got one here in Britain. I went in it. Jesus Christ. I thought my balls were going to come out of my mouth. It's like that.
Yeah.
So rickety. And they're like, oh, you love a wooden roller coaster. It's, it's the real thing. I'm like, no, give me a nice smooth metal one. Thank you.
That's fun.
Well, look, thanks ever so much for coming on, Adam. Give people a little bit of background into how we sort of connected. Was that I saw a couple of YouTube videos of yourself, the main one with Grunkel Stan, which just, I love stuff like that. There's another guy on YouTube that I watch. Not that I am a creative in that I'm a filmmaker, a bit like yourself, but it fascinates me. Painting and sculpting and things like that, and the dedication it takes, and that's how I spotted it. And then your video came up again recently, and I thought, oh, I'll contact him. And luckily, you said you'd come on. Just tell us a little bit about growing up and where that seed came from, Adam. Is that something that you knew straight away, or was it something that you found out later on after school?
I mean, I knew it pretty straight away. I mean, I started painting model kits and stuff with my dad. Like 8 and 9 years old, he was showing me that stuff. He was a very, he worked on cars. He restored old cars. So he was always in the garage, always making things, always working with tools and paints and stuff. And then, he would have me help on the cars and sand and, mix Bondo up and stuff and hand him tools. And then we started painting model kits together. He showed me his old Aurora kits, and I'd get them for Christmas, and he'd show me how to glue them together and paint them. And it's just what I love doing. I love sitting at a desk and working with tools and stuff, which then eventually evolved to like doing model conventions and stuff. I'd go to the conventions and buy the garage kits, because I wanted more than just what the little styrene figures had. So that would be like me and the dad doing road trips to resin garage kit, like shows and stuff like that. And I'd buy things up and paint them. And then I'd enter them in contests and stuff, and like the kids' competitions on painting. And then when I was 12, at those conventions and some friends, it kind of evolved into try sculpting your own things, right? Like, oh, here's some clay, here's how you do it. And then from there, it just, that's when I found out that I just loved sculpting. So that was at 12. And that's all I wanted to do. As soon as I found that out, that's all I wanted to do. So do that every day, every weekend, after school and stuff. And then just naturally, I think I found out that I was just pretty decent at it. I was really good at, I started by just copying, doing my favorite monsters. So I do the creature, I do Frankenstein, and I try to make it look as close as you could to the photos, right? So it's like a fun little game. And then at 15, I started getting hired by companies like the garage kit companies and the guys at those conventions to start sculpting stuff for them to sell and produce into resin kits their own for their own companies. So then it started just naturally progressing into a job that I was making money at, and my parents pretty quickly saw that that's like that's your thing now. Yeah. So I think when I was 18 is when they were in, like, my grades were doing really terrible because I just was sculpting all the time. Yeah. And they encouraged me because they saw like, oh, this is your thing, to drop out of school because they already saw that it wasn't doing anything at all for me. They're like, all right, just get your GED, which is like, just the basic, I graduated high school diploma that you can just get, over a weekend. So I dropped out in 11th grade and got that, and then just sculpted the whole time until I was 21, where I finally decided to up the game and try to make it a full-time career out in LA and learn how to do like big sculpting, not just little figurines and stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting what you say there, because I talk to a lot of people on the show, and everybody's path's different. Everything's, some paths are right for some people. Education is right for some people, but not everyone. And a lot of people will come on and say, you could go university, college, but a lot of people do that and they're not sure where they're going after that. Sometimes if you are into something, especially, and you're lucky enough to find something straight away, I suppose, which is quite nice, because that's your journey straight away. Whereas with some people, they're not sure. A lot of kids, sort of 16, 17, you get someone come up to them and say, oh, the mum or dad or careers officer will say, what do you want to be? And they're like, I don't know. I don't know what I want to be. Some people do, like yourself, but a lot don't. And it's knowing, do you stay in education, or is it better to learn on the job? I mean, I talk about filmmaking quite a lot. And you can go film school, but it's actually the practicality of doing it, isn't it? The experience. You can't beat that, can you?
Yeah, I know. It's a tricky subject because, I come from that, like you said, the area where I was lucky enough to find this thing when I was super young, and I knew what I wanted to do, and my parents knew that I could figure that out. But like, I'm such an anti-school guy. And because I see how it's just trying new things and picking things up and talking to people. And I just see schools as they're just trying to feed off of those kids who don't know what they want to do. And they go, well, we could show you, give us a ton of money and pay us off, and we'll basically just introduce you to new things and get you talking to people that you could easily do on your own if you're just open enough to explore new things. I mean, I was exploring new things, granted, when I was 10 years old, but I think a lot of people just don't get to try stuff out, or are scared to, or think they need to go to school to learn this stuff. So I mean, I try to encourage people to not do school as much as I can.
Yeah, and that's
but then again, you know, I'm starting a Patreon where I'm asking people to give me money so I could show them stuff. So
yeah, it's
I'm right there with them. But you know,
it's a tricky one. Don't get me wrong. You know, if it's right, it's right for some kids. Don't get me wrong. You know, if it's right for them and it works for them, great. But I think a lot of pressure on some young children is to do so well at school and have such a good education. And I think there's something missing out of the system. Sounds like it's the same in the US, where there's no sort of in between, where there's someone saying, look, if you don't want to get into education, you can try this or we can try that. Because not everyone responds to sitting in a classroom. Like yourself, you respond to doing and making and seeing what's evolving. Whereas in a classroom, sometimes you're sitting there and you're just, you know, you're reading text and you're like, well, where am I going with this? What is it actually? And I think the other thing is you get naughty kids that are not naughty. They just don't want to sit there and listen to stuff. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. I know it's a tricky subject because then I also don't want to like offend people who are like teachers or who are like really into school and stuff. But I mean, for me, I just was talking to people. I would message my favorite sculptors and be like, what's this material you're using? I saw you post this photo. What's that tool? Where do I get that? And 90% of the time they're like, oh, you know, they're very generous with what they know. They'll tell you. And then you have to do the work on figuring out how to, you know, do it. But, you know, I feel like schools are just charging a ridiculous amount for just the most simple, basic information. I mean, one of the reasons I'm starting a thing where I'm, you know, just saying if you can give me $4 a month, I'll be totally open and you could message me and we could talk about your projects and I can help you along the way, just because I get so many people emailing me asking this stuff. And I don't have the time of day to keep on responding and be like, oh yeah, well, here's the list of clays I recommend. Okay, you got the clay, cool. I can't describe to you exactly how to make a mold or what kind of mold you need for this process. And it's so much work.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it's almost like it's weird little side job is just talking to people about who want to learn how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to say, oh, go to this school. It's going to be 20 grand for 6 months. You know, and then
and also, if you think about it, imagine if your parents hadn't have said, we want to support you. Imagine if they'd have said, no, you've got to get an education, which can happen a lot of the time as well. So then you lose all those years. And you find this a lot where you're in your 30s and you go, I wish I'd have got into this.
Yeah.
And, you know, so in some ways, you know, your parents are key, aren't they, for a lot of people?
I think so too. And I think it's important for parents because a lot of, you know, that's why I was kind of surprised because I have older, you know, my parents were quite a bit older, that they were open to that mindset of you don't need education. You know, I mean, my dad, you know, was like the story, the story of a poor family, and he put himself through an amazing college and got this awesome job doing this amazing career in computer technology and stuff. And you know, he knew that I found my thing, but he kind of struggled with it in the beginning there. You know, he'd get really angry that I wanted to sit in my room instead of go out and mow the lawn and like do housework and like get out and do stuff. But so that there was like, I could always tell that there was that side of, he knew that I found my thing, but it was still kind of hard to wrap your head around for someone who's not super artistic, that sitting in your room, having movies on the whole time, drinking cases of Mountain Dew, and play is a career in its own, you know, and that's the equivalent of being outside mowing the lawn, doing physical labor work, you know.
At least it weren't an iPad.
Yeah, right? Yeah. No, it was before that. But he found it, you know, he knew that I found my thing and he accepted it after a while. But there was a lot of times there when we were butting heads a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, he wasn't seeing that I knew what I was doing and it was going somewhere.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, and he passed away when I was 20, when I was still in the bedroom, in the basement, making stuff. I was doing stuff for legit companies, but right after he passed away, that's when I was like, all right, it's I got to do this as a career now.
Yeah.
And I that's when I made the decision to move to LA. That's where he and my mom grew up. Their lives were started in LA. So I thought it was important to go there and then try to find that career and just kind of prove to myself that was all worth doing.
Yeah.
And that I could make a living doing this,
What? So tell us a bit about that then, Adam. So you've been doing this. You've obviously obsessed by it. You're getting good at it, and then you want to make a career out of it. So what is it about the leap to LA over there? Because we know about LA as in films and Hollywood and acting and all that kind of thing. Is it the same thing for sculpting and special effects and things like that? Is it the fact that that's where the action is? Is that why you moved there?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, LA is, just as a kid, you got Stan Winston, you got Rick Baker, you got those dream shops, doing the most amazing stuff in the world. And not in a million years would you think you could do something like that and see those things. I mean, you watch those behind the scenes videos of them sculpting that T-Rex and how they have to like lift the ceiling of the building up because it's too tall, it wouldn't fit. It's just the coolest thing. It's still mind blowing looking at those books and seeing what they were doing. So it was just like, I got to try to figure out how to do that, and I felt like I could do that. I felt like I was pretty confident in my work. Granted, it was all small scale stuff. And when I moved out here, that's actually what some of the shops were saying. Cause I had my printed portfolio, and luckily I made some friends through the conventions that I would go to, the monster conventions and the resin garage kit conventions. I made friends in LA who knew the shop owners, who knew KMB and who knew Studio 80i and stuff. So when I got there, they were, I had a lot of people who supported me and were kind enough to be, to give me time to go, oh yeah, when you fly out here, we'll take you to this shop. We'll introduce you. We'll give you a tour and you can show your book to them. And most shops are pretty open to have people come and show their portfolio and take a look at it.
What year was this, Adam, when you went out there?
I was 21, so that was 2001, I think. Yeah.
Because it almost goes through stages, doesn't it? Obviously, filmmaking and special effects and animation and things like that. Was it a good year to get into it, or were things changing?
Well, that math's wrong. It's 2011.
Oh, right.
Right? I was like, wait a minute. Pretty sure it's too early to be doing math. I was 21. However long I'm 30 now. Whenever that was.
So I know it's easy done, isn't it, mate? I'll do exactly the same thing. We're 20. Yeah, it's like. Yeah. But what I'm getting at is, Adam, because times are changing, especially in the movie industry with CGI, special effects, things like that. Now, I suppose there was a golden era when you look back. Like the Muppets and things like that, and you said Rick Baker, but that happens all the time, doesn't it? It's always evolving. Was it a good year for you to get out there in 2011?
Oh, I think it was perfect, and I still think it's rocking there as far as work and stuff coming in. I mean, now there's shops everywhere working on Mandalorian stuff and freaking Obi-Wan stuff, and I don't know what else there is.
I think what happened was everyone was talking CGI, CGI and this and that, and we've almost gone full circle to come back to appreciate animation and things like that a lot more. Same with, I mean, you can see in here I collect stuff. Same with like records, things like that. People want vinyl back now. There's a lot more of an appreciation because technology is so easy to just pick up and throw down. Yeah. People appreciate craft and hard work. Do you find that?
Yeah, it's definitely coming back. I mean, it's this whole wave of 80s, 90s kids who are now running the show, right? So it's coming back, and I think there's a peak, or there's like a spike in practical effects coming back and stuff too. But also it's coming back, but it's also a regurgitation of the same crap. It's all Jurassic Parks. It's all, just 80s, 90s stuff repeating itself as opposed to the groundbreaking stuff that was Jurassic Park, or that was, the stuff that was being done then. So I think there's something as like that was one of the reasons why I left LA, is that I love doing this stuff, but I don't want to just do another Jurassic Park, another Star Wars spinoff, that's cool. And that's what us as adults want to do, because we wanted to do that as kids, right? But we're not groundbreaking. Like, there's nothing groundbreaking going on at all. It's all the same crap. And I think I'm not a fan of it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want any more Star Wars. I don't want any Jurassic Park. I don't want to work on that stuff. It's fun when you're doing it, but it's not, there's no originality going on there. I mean, you're just recreating what's been done by the greats, back then. And I don't see anybody doing like stuff I've never seen before. I mean, I love what Jim Henson did, and I love The Labyrinth, and I love Dark Crystal and stuff.
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
That Dark Crystal television show, I thought, was lacking so much stuff. I mean, I know people did a lot of work and the stuff is beautiful, but you can't have a Jim Henson project when Jim Henson's not around. It's not the same. There's something totally missing with repeating something with $1 billion behind it versus doing something new and groundbreaking.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
People are like, what are you doing? This is stupid. This is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like a movie with no people, it's just puppets. That's a terrible idea,
Yeah.
And I have these ideas that I want to do that I think are original and new and creative and stuff that I just want to get out there. So that's part of the reason is, like, in Colorado, it's a little bit more affordable. I have a shop space. I'm not working with people in LA who like have to pay their rent and they have to do these jobs. People can help me with my projects and stuff, and kind of try to bring something new to the table. But I mean, I loved working on it, and it was great to do, and anybody who's into special effects, I think, should experience that and work for a shop and, work on a big budget movie and kind of learn how it is. But it is, you are working underneath someone. So you're not having full creative freedom. Someone's telling you what to do. Someone's telling you how to sculpt something, how someone else wants it to look, whether that's the boss of the shop or that's the director themselves or the producers or something. Nothing's 100% yours. And it's to the point now to where I'm realizing, like, all right, I want to express myself and my own work and my own ideas and find out what's 100% me, like art-wise, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally understand that. I understand, because it's like when you see the Muppet, we talk about the Muppets and Aardman and things like that. When they first started and you watch the making of videos and how they worked, it was nothing to do with money. It was all to do with being creative, having a vision and putting everything into it. Whereas now, especially on some of the Hollywood movies, it's just turning those wheels, isn't it? And I think, it can be quite frustrating for some people if you just want to push that passion and that creativity, because ultimately Hollywood and film is a business, isn't it? And you're always going to have those people with the money above you saying, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. You only do this. You only do that. Whereas people like yourself, you want to push your vision and live or die by it, whether it goes right or wrong. At least it's your craft. So I do get that, mate. I do get it.
Yeah, California is definitely a machine. And when you go there, to survive, to afford to live in there, you have to become a gear in that machine.
Yeah.
And there are ways you could find a way to become a higher position of like telling people what to do and getting your vision out there made. But I think, you know, instead of trying to climb the ladder there, I feel like I'm just going to be here and create something and then just hope, you know, like after that Grunkel thing, that was like, you know, I was unemployed. I was in LA. I was on unemployment trying to pay my rent because everything, that was right when COVID hit, as I was finishing it. So all the industry was everyone was laid off, which is part of the job too, right? When you're working for the movie companies, you're only employed if there's movies going on, you know, and in between all that, you know, from one movie to another, you're unemployed. So you have to bounce around like crazy. It's this huge, super unsecure thing. But during COVID, everything was shut down, right? We were all on unemployment and we were trying to pay rent, which was going up in LA as the whole city was like burning down. It felt like it was crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then I finished Grunkel. I mean, I was finally like, oh, okay, great. I can now, instead of every night and weekend punch hair on this stupid silicone head, I can do it all day and all night and all, you know, for weeks. So I just blasted that thing out. And then I just whipped up the video just because, I mean, that's how I document my stuff because I don't get to keep it. I only do one. I don't want just photos. I want like a video of the thing. It's like a fun little, trying to learn how to film, make, and edit, right? I just do little videos. And then that thing just blew up. I mean, it just randomly got picked by YouTube to be like their homepage video or whatever. And that was like a real, like, I mean, it was freaky at first because I've never had that many people looking at my work, but it was a great moment of realizing how important your own work is compared to something you do for a company. I mean, nothing I've ever done for a company is mine. I'm just a person working on it with a huge group of people, you know, and if anything, I get my name on that list of 1,000 names at the end of a movie, whether or not it gets cut or, you know, you even see it for a second in the movie. And seeing that reaction and that amount of people looking at something that's me and what I do, and like blew my mind. And I was like, okay, this is the most important thing for me now. And it's the most rewarding thing. And people seem to respond to it better than me being a part of that machine is what I do. So that's when I made the decision. I was like, all right, I'm just going to leave. I'm going to move back. I'm going to kind of set roots here and figure out how to do me full time and put all my focus into only producing stuff that's what I'm proud of and stuff that I want to do, and like build my own, basically my own company kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I guess
I think what it did as well, it makes people appreciate what you're doing, because some people will see a model at the end product and think, wow, that's great, amazing, but they don't see the pain and the dedication that goes into it. Like when you're putting the hair in, every single strand of hair in, at the time and the dedication. And when you can make that into a nice little succinct video, people appreciate that a lot more. Do you know what I mean? They can see the process. And if people haven't seen it, they need to. Now, what was it like getting Alex Hirsch? Did you tell him about it? Was it a project for him, or did you just say, I've made this and he came and had a look? What how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, I've done so I've done a few pieces for other people. I mean, it started by doing art shows. I mean, people are like, how do you, right? It's super easy to get these guys to see your stuff. There's art shows, and these art shows have a theme to them. So like I heard about, or someone approaches me, hey, there's an art show, it's this theme, it's at this location, these people are going to be there. So you go, okay, those people are going to be there. You know, just like at a convention, you know, or anything, you have to be the one that stands out in the crowd. A lot of people at conventions will just put their stuff on a table, you know, with a black cloth on it, and there's 40 other people in a row that all look the same. What I do is I pull the table out, I set up a background, I stick lights in there, I have a boombox playing music, and I have a theme, and like I want you to step into an environment when you walk into this booth of jungle, and like there's mist blowing on your face, and then there's my sculpture, and then there's a crate that's open with a bunch of keychains for sale, right? It's that comes from my mom, who is like the most creative person ever. And we used to do this thing when I was like, I don't know, I think it was like second or third grade or something. And it was called Trunk or Treat, where it was the kids would go trick or treating, but they would, the parents would open up their trunks and decorate the trunk of the car to be like a scene and have like a bowl of candy, right? And the kids would go trick or treat to every car in the parking lot instead of like going in the shady neighborhoods or something, right? And my mom would go all out, and like it'd be like a spooky diorama with like my dad in a giant troll suit handing out candy, pretending to be a dummy. And then that eventually evolved into we'd throw these Halloween parties, and we'd have the whole house. I mean, it was like, you know, I grew up in a middle class house, so it was like a nice 2-story, you know.
Yeah.
And we'd do the whole house haunted mansion with, my dad would be boarding up the windows.
Yeah.
And every room would be themed. There'd be the creature from the Black Lagoon in the bathtub, and there'd be the killer clown from outer space, you know, basement room, and the mummy's tomb, and the whole house was decorated. And then they would have it open up to the whole neighborhood, and the neighborhood would walk through our house and just see these cool things, right?
Yeah.
And like eventually the police would cone off the streets because there were so many people coming in, and the news stations would show up, and then they rented a hearse, right? And it just turned into this huge thing. We did it like 3 years in a row.
Wow.
You know, when I was like 10 or 11 doing this, and it was like the most fun thing. So all year we would be setting up the house, and then have that one night where we'd have this huge party where everyone would come in. And
that sounds great.
I think that was the start of when you are in a crowd of people and you're trying to be an individual.
Yeah.
The most important thing is, how do you get someone's attention? You know, if you have a table of 2-inch sculptures that you spend a bunch of time on that are amazing, but you're in a sea of people, no one's going to see that, right? So in every convention and things like that, I do a huge grand giant thing and a diorama and music and lights, and that draws the people in. And once they're there seeing what's going on, then they look at the tiny stuff that you've spent all this time doing. They look at the keychains, they look at the little figurines that you do. And for some reason, a lot of artists don't do that. A lot of them, I mean, I don't know if it's just too much work, or if there's something just about the presentation that I try to talk to people about how important that is to draw people to your stuff. I mean, and it's creating a theatre, isn't it? It's creating an event. And I think that more than ever, especially after the pandemic, people will want more of an event. It won't be about cost of things. It will be about the theatre. I mean, people say to me about cinema, where do you think cinema's? I think cinema will keep going, but it will be a lot more of an event. You won't just go to the cinema just to watch any old thing. People, but they won't mind spending the money, but they want to have the experience. And that's the same with a lot of things, isn't it? And I think, walking into an environment is the most important. And it's just so much fun. I mean, I remember on one year for like this convention, Monsterpalooza, which is like a big monster show. All these artists show their stuff off, right? And I was going to thrift stores and finding furniture. And my theme was, all right, I'm going to do a 50s monster living room, like a mid-century living room. And it's a zombie theme. So I was like, all right, carpet, furniture, you know, and then I was like, the china cabinet is where the sculptures are displayed on. I have this giant monster statue here. I got lights that's playing this music. And then that translated, I mean, I do that for every single project because it's just so much fun to go to thrift stores to, you got a tiki theme, you're trying to find coconuts, you're grabbing freaking giant palm tree leaves off the side of the freeway, right? It's so much fun to do.
Yeah.
And then for these art shows, right, they'd be like, all right, we're having an art show. The theme is like Guillermo del Toro's films. Pick a thing. So I go, okay, so how do you do a giant sculpture? It's extremely impressive. You have a cool kind of scene going on. And then you go, all right, it's a Guillermo del Toro theme. Guillermo's known for showing up at things. I bet you he'll be there. So how do I get Guillermo's attention, right? And a lot of people go, oh, okay, you know, like a little tiny sculpture, this, that. I do this big, giant, sparkly thing, and I go, all right, I got to have a booth here. I got to have lights here, talking to everybody like it's like an ordeal and a pain in the butt to set it up. But, you know, that was for that show. Guillermo showed up just like I thought he would. I mean, I don't think they said he was going to, but I just was like, he's probably going to show up, right? And as soon as I came in there, he was in there talking to everybody, and he comes up and he goes, "Your piece was the first piece I bought." As soon as he walked in the door,
wow,
and I was like, "This is crazy." I knew, right? Because it's you're drawing people in. I think that's something really important to think about is the presentation and what you're doing. And I do think I try to, I mean, I go all out on my stuff, but I think just having a grand piece that's really like interesting to people is super important. But I mean, that's how I got started as far as working with these people. I mean, there was a show, an art show at Cartoon Network, and they go, okay, the theme is like just Cartoon Network kind of stuff. And so I created this giant Mojo Jojo, and then, you know, that got the eyes of these other people who were there, who were like, oh, we love this, you know, I do this character. Is that something you could do? And I go, yeah, I could make that. And I make a thing for them. And then, you know, that gets seen by, you know, they put that in their office, and then these other guys see it and they go, oh, I want one of those things like of my character in my office. And they go, oh, yeah, it's this guy, you know? So it makes sense, and it's not that hard, you know, if someone's an artist and they're trying to like figure out how to get someone's attention, it's pretty, I think it's pretty easy to kind of like navigate around if you just kind of go, oh, okay, someone's going to be here at this time. There's this show with this theme. This guy will probably be there. How do I get that person?
You've got to put the work in, though, at the end of the day. You can't expect people just to come to you. You've got to put the work in. Now, I was interested in what you were saying about the Hollywood and how that, you know, you come away from that. I mean, I was looking at some of the jobs you'd worked on, like Annabelle, and Jurassic World and things like that. Was it a case of when you went on to these projects, you sort of, so if I was going to work, you know, some of the, like Annabelle, you go, oh yeah, great. But then when you get on it, you realise you're a team of 30 people and all you're doing is making a door handle. Whereas a creative, you want to be in there, you want to be making the doll. Is that the sort of thing you went through, or did you actually get stuck into some of the real interesting stuff?
I mean, it's, you know, we're working under the shop. We're all friends. We're all making this, you know, we're all working to make this project come to life, you know. And it's not like one person is in charge of, you know, creating the doll, putting painting, right? It's like this person's sculpting, and then he hands it to this person who molds it, who hands it to that person who paints it.
Oh.
So for those, like I got to paint some pieces. There was like a scene in one of the Annabelles where like they're creating Annabelle. So it's like, it looks like he's making wood pieces.
Yeah.
Like carving Annabelle. And I got to paint those so they look like wood, but I didn't sculpt any of that, right? That's like Annabelle pieces, and I just make it look like raw wood. But
I suppose it's because you've not got the full control of the thing. You're just a little cog in the wheel, whereas you like starting things, completing things, and being in charge of the whole.
Yeah. I mean, if I could, I would totally hire other people to like mold for me and do hair.
Do the shit jobs. Yeah.
I hate doing it. But it is really rewarding when, you know, something I do is 100% mine. But I mean, even Grunkel, you know, like I hire someone who's way better at making eyes than I am, because like a super important thing. I feel like I'm not 100% confident in my eye making or have enough time to do that. So I hire someone, they give me the eyes, I pop the eyes in. You know, I don't know how to do wiring, so I have someone do the wiring and electrical stuff. You know, even the little Bill Cipher, I hired someone who was better than I am at digital sculpting and worked with them on making the little Bill, you know, and just kind of gave them my specifications and what I was looking for, and this is what I need, and then they do it. And I love involving other artists to get their creative juices going, to all contribute into making one really awesome piece.
Yeah.
And I do love overseeing that kind of stuff. I mean, that's really fun. And I see what those are. I mean, that's what the shop guys are doing, but they have, you know, 30, 40 people doing that for them.
Yeah. When you work on the big films like Bright and It and things like that, is it quite, because there's so much money involved, is it quite, do you think this could be done on, would you rather be involved in smaller projects? Is it because the project is so big that it's almost you're losing, it's like you said, you're just a name on a roll of 1,000 credits, because the money and the project is just so big and expands, you almost lose any creativity, your part of creativity in it. Do you think that's a part of it, do you think?
Well, I think creativity is lost in a lot of these huge budget movies. I think I mean, I love Star Wars. I love what they did, but I think there's something missing when you see Star Wars and the original series versus the $1 billion Star Wars. There's just something like, there's something off, and what it is the creativity and the lack and the lack of resources and trying to figure out how to make things work with not a huge amount of money. I mean, it bums me. I mean, for Jurassic World, right, we spent months building this giant dead stegosaurus.
Yeah, I've seen the picture.
5 feet long, 25 feet tall. We all worked so hard on that thing, and we were so proud of it, and it looked awesome. And then we went to Hawaii and we set it up in the jungle, and it was the coolest thing ever. And then the movie comes out and we're all like, we're going to see our dinosaur, and then it's not there.
Oh,
it's gone. And it gets cut, and then it's not in the and then we're like, maybe it's just the deleted scene. We all go buy the Blu-ray and we watch that, and it's not in there either.
Oh,
it's like it never happened. We did all that work, and there's the only thing to show for it is the photos we took and just the experience making it, which is such a shame.
Yeah.
And then you go, God, if I just had the money a studio spent making that thing, my own original project, I can make something mind blowing.
Yeah.
That, you know, would be just the coolest thing ever. And
that's frustrating. Yeah, that's frustrating. And I do understand it in some ways. That I'm a filmmaker back here in the UK, and try, you know what it's like. You're a filmmaker yourself as well, trying to get projects off the ground. And when you see the big, especially if you see a big blockbuster and it's crap, you think, well, hold on a second. I only want your travel expenses, and I'll make a film twice as good with a lot more heart in it than, you know. So it can be frustrating at times, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that just bummed me out too, because then you're like, well, then what's the point of me spending all this time creating something and getting emotionally invested in a project that doesn't even matter enough to show up in a movie or the deleted scenes or anything? And then you go, well, I just need to, and then when something like Grunkel gets lucky enough to be seen by that many people, you go, well, obviously that's what I need to put my time into, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm proud of that. I know will get on the internet because I'm in charge of putting it on the internet.
Yeah, definitely.
It'll only get views if I put the effort into it.
Absolutely, mate. So future-wise, obviously you've come back to Colorado now. You're going to be doing your projects a lot more. Yeah. I know you're directing, aren't you, and looking at doing your own film. Have you started that? Is that something you're going to be doing?
It's been a project I've been working on for a few years now, and it's been sculpted and thrown away and resculpted and thrown away and this and that and this, and it's been going on forever. And It's all been building up to a Kickstarter to try to get funding, to make a like 12-minute short film of a 1930s jungle adventure. And I just think it's the coolest thing ever. Because how do you make a jungle adventure that's a period movie in Colorado? Well, it's super easy. I can show you.
Yeah.
And like just talking about the story, it's super exciting. And I've been writing it, and and since I've been here, there's just a great group of people and friends who are like, yeah, let's do this. This is super easy. We could do this. And since the Grunkel video, you know, now I have a YouTube channel. That wasn't a thing before. And now I have a YouTube channel and an audience who like wants to see me make stuff. So the you know, and the little short like music video things that I've done so far are, I spend a bunch of time, I make a short, and I just post the short on YouTube. And I'm not really showing what I do, right? I show a little bit, but not a whole lot, not the amount of work that goes into it. So my plan is to just document the entire process. Writing the script is its own video, you know, storyboarding is a video. And I show people the entire process of just getting to a Kickstarter, right? And then I document the process of doing the Kickstarter, and then making the short film and building a set and working with puppets and working with a company, and then once it's done, figuring out how to release it. And I want to have a premiere where everything I've built is there, and you're walking into an environment just like at the conventions or at the art shows, right? You're walking into everything I've made, and then you get to see the final video product, whether or not it's good. You know, it's something I've made that's 100% just something out of my brain, and then you get to see it. But I've been working on that a lot, and then I've been lucky enough to get some more creatives who want me to do like the Grunkel thing, right?
Have they asked you to make another 100 Grunkel Stans?
Yeah, right. No, I'm working on this. I just started this new project with this really talented artist, Meat Canyon, on YouTube, who does these really great animations and satire, kind of goofy things. And he's created his own show. It seems like it's the same situation. Like, he does these things and caricatures of famous people or TV shows and things. And this new show is his own original idea, his own original concept, which I love. I mean, that's the coolest thing ever. That's what I want, is more original stuff. And you know, he's released 2 episodes. The 3rd episode's coming, and he has this whole season planned out for this year. And he's working with me on creating a Grunkel version, a hyper-realistic version of this character of a show.
There's something in it. I tell you what, there's something in it when you see a cartoon character and then you turn him into a real person with real hair and real eyes. There's something it's pretty cool, isn't it? Because you can see a cartoon, you know, there's some famous cartoons, Scooby-Doo and things like that, but to actually see the character and the pores on their face and the blood vessels, there's something it's real strange, but it's fantastic, isn't it? It brings the character so much to life. I mean, you could see when Alex was looking at him, he was blown away, because the eye, like you say, the eyes are realistic. It's like, wow, this is a real person.
Yeah. And there's a ton of artists out there who create realistic versions of cartoon characters. It's just a thing. But I do it because I want to see a film of that character. I mean, I remember when the first live-action Scooby-Doo movie was coming out. I was freaking out when I was a kid. I was so excited for that, because I was like, whoa. I love cartoon movies, but I love live-action stuff. So seeing a cartoon character brought to life is like the coolest thing ever. And like this sculpture for Meat Canyon is actually turning into like a scene if it was a live action movie. And then I was telling a friend, I was like, I'm kind of thinking of this concept, like he's doing this and there's a thing and it's reacting to him. And like, if you place it right, it looks like, and like take a photo, it's like a scene from a movie of this TV show. And then they were like, well, you could easily like move this around and film it and film that, and then make like a like a minute long segment that could look like it's like from a movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really cool. So I mean, all this stuff like Grunkel, like if they made a live action Gravity Falls movie, that's what I would want to see Grunkel as, you know?
Yeah.
And I would want to see it, you know, like moving and talking and blinking. But all I could do right now is a sculpture. You know, that's all I can afford. That's all I could do by myself.
Surely you've sold that for a ton of money. Come on.
Yeah, right?
Too right. You didn't sell it to Alex, did you? Did he? I bet he wanted to buy it, didn't he?
Oh, I mean, that's his. That's his now. I don't have it.
Oh, you should have kept hold of it. You should have kept hold of it. You'd have made a fortune.
I'm the least fan of my own stuff. As soon as I don't want to look at it. I hate it. I see everything wrong with it.
It's because, I suppose, the beauty for you is in the making. When it's finished, you're sick of it. I mean, I've just finished my first feature film, and I am sick to death. I've edited it for a year and a half, and I know every single frame, and I am sick I just want to give it away. Take it. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. I know. It sucks. I hate it. And everything, you know, but that's what's nice is every single project I got, it's going to be better than that last one, because that last one was terrible. It's going to be better. And then I'm going to do it. I'm going to go, this is awful, but the next one will be better. And that's how you get better, right? But I don't have any of my stuff on display. I hate everything. I mean, the only thing I have that I enjoy looking at is Puggloo from my thing. But that's because that's like a little love letter to my dog, Buster. Yeah. And that puppet, for some reason, I'm really proud of that puppet. It turned out really well. I mean, I sculpted it, and even the sculpture looks like garbage. But for some reason, when it was in foam and it was compressed and shrunk, you know, when it was cast and how it was painted, just looks really cool. Something about it. I mean, I couldn't recreate that thing in a million years.
I could tell you love that because it's everywhere. Do you sell those? Do you make those? Are they recreated and you sell them?
Justin Ishmael from, I think it's Ish Designs or something. He sells the Puggloo toys. And those are available on my website and on his website and Instagram and stuff. But cool. Yeah, that was one of those things where it was like, I just did this as a joke. It's a music video. I listened to a song. I was like, I like this song. This is kind of what I'm picturing. I'm practicing how to become a filmmaker. I was like, I'll do a music video of this song. I did the music video. I was just posting photos of the entire process. And for some reason, people just responded really well to that character and started following along. I wanted to see it finished. And then I did the show where I had everything I made for it. There it is on a TV. I press play. It's a minute and a half of garbage, and I'm embarrassed. And it's like, everyone here to see a minute. And it's the stupidest thing ever. But people just responded to that thing enough so someone wanted to make a toy of it. You know, I was like, it's crazy. But just another example of creating your own artwork is the most important thing. And whether or not you're confident enough, that is that's why you're here, is to create your thing. I mean, helping other people make stuff is important. Yeah. But I think that should be going along with you creating your own thing. Yeah. And I think a lot of people lose that, and they just go, well, it's a lot easier to just do the 8 to 5. I'm tired afterwards. I just need that paycheck, you know? Yeah. And then there's something missing there. It's because it's not, you're not doing you.
Yeah. Right? When you look back, you think, I wish, but everybody's different. Now I'll put links in the podcast notes to your website and everything, but it's like you said before, and which I think is brilliant. Your Patreon page is fantastic, because for me, if I wanted to be a sculptor, I think it's fantastic that you can just pay, small amounts a month and connect directly with you, ask whatever questions you want. I think that is far better than any college, 10 grand a year college or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
It's great. It is, mate.
I got 10 people so far. You know, it's like my mom and my friends, but that's okay.
Hey, if they all want to, that's it. And the thing is, even if you get one person that it makes a difference to and starts a career, then that's a start, isn't it? Because that's what I would have wanted when, you know, I would have loved that mentoring for what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And you know, I just started it, you know, 2 days ago, but I think documenting the process of, like, I want to have it, the entire process of making this thing for Meat Canyon is going to be on Patreon along with YouTube. But if you want to be like, well, what are these tools you're using? What are these materials you're using? That's going to be on there. And then also in there is all the videos of me working on this jungle adventure short film, or working on, you know, making these little pumpkin guides that I try to sell to make money, right? And it's just, this is like a blog of what I do. And if I feel like with enough videos on YouTube and it being consistent enough on Patreon, I feel like a lot of people might be interested in seeing that.
Definitely.
And even if it's not until the jungle adventure's done in 2 years and everyone's like, whoa, how'd you do that? These are crazy puppets. I'll go, it's literally, there's, you know, 120 hours of it on my Patreon. You can go watch it for $4 and then cancel right after, you know? But
that's good.
I think it's too much stuff to just throw up on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I'm broke. I'm trying to figure out how to make this a living, you know, and I tried the make products to sell, but that is so much work for just one thing. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to make money by just making things, like doing what I do. Yeah. But even just, I mean, I've been spending a ton of money just making gear to hold cell phones, you know, bendy arms and rigs and lights, and just trying to set them up. And then freaking editing videos is a nightmare.
Yeah.
To do this like every other day, to have 3 minutes up. You know.
I tell you what, you know when you've made it when you can pay someone to edit your videos. That's right? When you know. That's when you know you've made it.
So nice.
My daughter's 12, and I'm seriously thinking about asking teaching her and just pay her £10 a week or something.
Oh man, I wish I had that.
Man. Well, look, so Adam, if you were to give advice to someone coming up, maybe wants to get into sculpturing or animation or something like that, what sort of advice do you think you could give them?
I feel like I gave a lot of good advice already, or bad advice. I don't know.
Good advice.
But I mean, just you know.
Were you given any good advice?
Yeah, a ton. I don't remember it though. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I still feel like I give people advice on how much to charge for stuff. I'm always seeking advice because I'm always undercharging. I feel like every single person I've ever talked to devalues themselves and thinks they aren't worth what they're actually worth. I'm totally in that same thing.
Yeah.
It's really easy for me to go, no, you're an amazing artist. You need to be charging this much. You're way more valued than that. But then when someone comes to me, I'm like, well, I really want this job. And, you know, all right, I can do it for this much because, you know, and it's because I'm still struggling, and it's because I'm broke. And, you know, even having a video like Grunkel that's gone, you know, viral or whatever, I still think my stuff sucks. And
You've got imposter syndrome, haven't you? You've got imposter syndrome. Trust me.
I'm still, you know,
trust me. You're at it. I know. Bear in mind, I've got Baby Yoda back here. Your stuff does not suck. And I think, but I do understand that you get that from a lot of, especially creatives. It's so difficult because it's a struggle. It's a struggle, isn't it? It's not easy. Yeah. But I think
it's the reason why we all do the day job, or we're scared to try to start this thing because we think we're too old. I mean, I did a podcast with Chet Zar, And I never knew he started painting when he was 30. That blows my mind, because that guy's amazing. And I'm just going, how have you not done that before? But I mean, I'm coming up on 31 soon, which is the worst thing ever for me, because every year I just reflect on what I have not done yet that I wanted to do by the time I was this age.
Yeah,
And
I think you have to be patient, and you have to think the older you get, the more experience you've got. So you've got to remember that, because I don't think you should be, not saying how old I am, but I definitely don't think you should beat yourself up. I think patience is key. You know, you see these young kids and you think, would you want to be young again? And yeah, I'd like to be young again, so I've got more time, but would I want that mindset? And I quite like getting older and having that experience and knowing where you're going and being a bit more confident. So I think you're in a brilliant place. And when I say about advice and you couldn't think of any, I think the biggest thing for you is the fact you've just stuck to your guns and you're sticking to what you want to do, which is a brilliant thing, because you could have easily gone a different route and now be doing a job that you don't really enjoy, but you're making money. And you've gone down the route of you're passionate, you want to enjoy yourself, you want to be happy, and you want to create what you want to create. And I think that is a brilliant bit of advice, because when you look back, you're going to think, and the thing is, when you do that, is if you do something you want to do, if it goes wrong, fuck it. At least you did what you wanted to do. Imagine if you live your life for 60 years, do something you don't want to do, and it still ends up shit.
Yeah, I know. And that's what, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about it, is I saw my dad work underneath someone for his whole life. And then he branched out to try his own thing. And he tried once and it failed. And he had to go back to that. And, you know, I grew up thinking that was a bad thing. That was a bad thing that he tried to do and he failed, and he put the family in a bad position because of that. But as I'm getting older, I'm going, no, he tried a thing. He tried it. He failed, but he tried it.
Yeah.
And he just went back to the same thing, you know? And you know, so that's why I'm just all about just trying your thing. And worst case scenario, you know, when I'm 60 and I'm still broke and you know, living in my mom's basement or something, I could just be like, all right, I'll just go sculpt for another Star Wars TV show.
The next Jurassic Park 20.
Yeah, right. This will be the ones where the dinosaurs have the lasers on their heads.
Yeah, build a dinosaur
and
fucking get put out.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing's worse than having an idea and not bringing it to fruition and creating it. You know, it's so frustrating for me, at least. It's like I can't sleep at night because there's this stuff, and I'm like, oh, I need money. I gotta make it.
I do feel your pain. I really do. Now, I always ask my guests for a favourite. It can be a film or a book, just something they enjoy and that's accessible to everybody. Do you have one, Adam?
A favorite? Just anything?
Anything. I'd be interested. Have you got a favourite? Because obviously, what you do, animation or some kind of film that you really enjoyed and thought, wow.
I mean, The Creature from the Black Lagoon is my favorite movie in the world. It's as far back as I could. There's like photos of me as a little infant with like creature stuff. So it's literally, I can't remember a time when I wasn't obsessed with that one monster. And just the design of how he looks, you know. So if anyone hasn't seen that movie, you should probably go see that movie. It's a great movie.
I haven't seen it for years, but yeah.
That design still holds up. Can't be beat. It's the most interesting thing.
It's pretty special.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I don't know. That's probably my favorite just movie thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, look, Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for connecting. Make sure you stay in touch, and when you get your film out, come back on.
Of course. Yeah.
Just stay with it, man. Just keep going. Keep pushing.
You too.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna get that fence post in there. You'll do it.
Yes. Well, I will after another beer. Okay. Well, I'll put links and everything to all your social media in the podcast links anyway. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. You look after yourself, Adam.
Thank you, Lee. You too.
Okay. So that's it. Massive thanks again to Adam again for joining me today, and also to you for listening or watching if you're on YouTube. Make sure you follow the podcast, because coming over the next few months are even some more extraordinary interviews. I'm not going to let you down. The podcast streams on all usual platforms, iTunes, Spotify. Please leave a rating and subscribe on there. Also on YouTube. It makes a big difference. My Way of Thinking is on Instagram is my What Podcast, and on Twitter it's My Way of Thinking with a 3 on the end instead of a G. And finally, if you want to get in touch, I forgot about that bit. If you want to get in touch, then you can email me. You might want to be a great guest. You might know someone who's going to be a great guest. Just email me. It's my whatpodcast@aol.com. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Until next time, God bless. Take care.